Hi, this is Mrs. Leopold, and I'm going to help you through the calculator portion in case you forgot or you weren't in class or you're not sure how to use your calculator to do the credit card debt or to do an investment of money. So I'm going to do this example 4 with the credit card debt, talk you through it, and really how to use your calculator. So the question says, at the start of the month, you make a purchase of $2,000. Your credit card company charges interest at a rate of 19% per annum compounded monthly. When you get your bill, it states that the minimum payment is $100. You decide to pay the minimum only, so you can only pay $100 per month. You don't want to pay any more than that, and you can't pay any less. So assuming you make no additional purchases on the card, just that one time only $2,000 purchase, then we need to find the following. So your balance that you owe after the first month, well, we start with a sub 0 this time because that's your initial amount. 0 time has passed. You just went out one day, you shopped, you spent $2,000. So then immediately after that, you start accruing interest on that payment. And once it accrues the interest, you make your minimum payment of $100, which is why we have our minus $100. So you spent $2,000, it accrued the interest, you made a $100 payment, so your total is then now $1,931.67. But A sub 1, if we say we purchased this on January 1st, A sub 1 is actually the answer, how much you have left on your credit card debt on February 1st, because you've paid your payment of minus 100. So the 2,000 times 1 plus 0.19 divided by 12 is what happens throughout January. Then you pay your minimum payment of $100. So on February 1st, you have a total of $1,931.67 that you still owe. You take that amount, you put it back into the recursive formula. That amount now accrues interest. So you multiply that by 1 plus 0.19 divided by 12 on February 1st, and then at the end of February, it accrues that interest, and then you make a $100 payment. So on March 1st, you now still owe the credit card company $1,862.25. So even though you've paid $200 out of your pocket, you haven't gotten $200. You've only gotten like $138 value out of that. So then you're going to have to develop a recursive relationship. That's really what we want to see on your assessment is, can you take these first two months and make it into a recursive relationship so it continues until we can pay off our credit card debt. You have to identify your initial value. We charge $2,000, or you charge $2,000 on your very initial payment. So A sub 0 was $2,000. You have to identify your starting point. If this is A sub 1, you're going to try to calculate your A sub 1. So if this is A sub 1 where the n is, then you put in a 1 here, so that's where we have our A sub 0. So A sub n equals A sub 1 times parentheses 1 plus 0.19 divided by 12 minus 100. Now, in order to use our calculator to find the answer for C and D, we need to put part B into the graph of a calculator. So you want to open a graph on your calculator, and once you open your graph and you're over here in the f of x, you go to your menu, you go to your graph entry, you go to your sequence, and then you choose number 1 sequence. And you can see it's spitting out that same screenshot right here in your notes. We have that same thing here. So we're going to take this equation and substitute it in up here, except what happens is U1 is representing the letter A, and the n in parentheses beside the U1 is representing the subscript of n. So the next thing we have to type then is U1, open your parentheses, my subscript is n minus 1, right? So this U1 is representing A, and then my subscript is in parentheses for n minus 1. Now, the number one thing that gets people frustrated on their quiz or test is they don't know, their calculator stuff isn't working, they're not sure why. Usually it's because they don't put a multiplication sign next. Remember, this is 1 unit. This parentheses, you can't open a parentheses right after it because this parentheses is acting as a subscript, not as multiplying n minus 1 times something. This is a subscript of U sub 1, so this is one term. We're taking that entire term, so we need to open a we need to put a We need to put a multiplication sign there before we open our parentheses because we're taking this term u1 n minus 1 and we're multiplying it now by this interest rate. So we type 1 plus, you can do control division bar if you want to get your dividing, and then you put in 0.19 in your numerator and then 12 in your denominator. So that's your interest rate, monthly interest rate. And then from there, you subtract 100 because you have a monthly payment you're making of $100. The next thing you do is you type in the initial amount that you charged, which is $2,000. And the other step that people tend to forget is changing your initial amount over here to go from 0 to 99 instead of from 1 to 99. You want it to start at 0 because this is our initial term and we're calling that 0 over here in our equation. So we want to start at 0, so a sub 1 would then produce the first line in your table would produce $1,931.67. The second line in your table would produce $1,862.25. So when you push enter, you will get nothing. It should be a graph, but we don't see the graph because we haven't gone up high enough on our y-axis or over far enough on our x-axis. If your initial charge is $2,000, then what do we have to do to our y value of our window? We have to go up to at least $2,000, if not above that. So I'm going to go a little bit above. The negative values don't matter, so they don't need to be very many. You could leave it at what it was or just make it -1. If you charged $100 per month and it was $2,000, if you paid off your debt by $100 a month and your initial payment was $2,000, then that's going to be at least 20 months, but it's going to be more because of the interest that's being built upon it. So we need to go beyond 20, so I'm going to go to 30. And then we don't really need many negatives because we don't have negative months. So each dot in this graph is representing a monthly payment. So it went from $2,100, my graph is going to $2,100. So if you went down to each one, jumped down to these dots, right, it's going to tell you what you owe per month. If you don't want to jump down the dots, you can go Control T, and that brings your table. And you can see right here, the 1931.67 matches this value over here. Go down. Your 1862.25 matches the table we calculated, the value we calculated over here. It says, when will the credit card debt be paid off? So you have to scroll down until you come to your first negative value. So my first negative value occurs on the 25th month. So on the 24th month, I still owed money. I still owed $23.63 or 64 cents if I round up. So on my 25th payment is when I finally pay it off. So that's why this is 25 months. Now, what will my final payment be? You either take whatever was left in the 24th row and you accrue the interest, you do the interest rate and get your answer, or what's a little bit simpler is to say, hey, if the credit card company owes me $75.99, if I round up here, and I made a $100 payment, that means they took from me $24.01. And so my last payment must have been $24.01. Now the next part is your it's your fixed point problem. So remember, in order to calculate a fixed point, you put in x for every a sub n. And so we put in x equals x times that interest rate and then minus 100. And when you solve, you get $6,315.79. We will ask you to interpret this value in the context of the problem. So in this context, that means if you would have went out and charged $6,315.79 and still only paid $100 per month with a 19% interest rate, compounded monthly, the next bill would still be $6,315.79 because the $100 that you paid off was only the interest. So you would owe the credit card company $6,315.79 for the rest of your life. Your $100 would only be getting rid of the interest. So you better believe that credit card companies are doing that research and knowing what minimum payment to charge you to make sure that you owe them for the rest of your life. Maybe not the same price. They probably want you to see the number go down to make you keep paying, but you have to be careful. Don't let any debt be accrued. Pay it off. So any of these questions, if you're going to do this one, the investor question, here is the formula. We need to put this into our TI Inspire, right? Remember, you have to go from 0 to 99. So that's a nice little hint to reminder, but this video will hopefully help as well if you forgot some steps. All right, otherwise, ask a teacher. Come see one of us, Mr. Murgatroyd, Mr. Trainer, Miss Bright, or me, Mrs. Leopold. Have a good one.